the first motion that occurs, right, his body is a plane right now, he's going to break that plane with the hips first and then with the knees. What we'll often see with beginners, which is a mistake, is that they'll break with the knees first, right? See how right now the plane is broken just with the knees? We want to avoid that as best we can because it draws weight off of the heels, right? So instead, break at the hips. Envision closing your car door when your hands are full of groceries, right? You push your hips back, yep. And then we drop straight down into the squat. Now, another thing to notice is that Coach Bryce's torso angle may change at first, but at the bottom, he keeps a rather upright torso, right? And he's not letting that hip back position continue until he loses his posture, right? So he's driving through the heels, keeping a relatively upright torso position, and returns back to the top.
Exercise number 2 in our day 2 squat pattern progression is the barbell high bar box squat. High bar relates to where the bar is placed on the back. You can see here that Coach Sterner has a very strong, stable position with his elbows directly underneath the bar and the bar resting on his traps. He's not just allowing the bar to collapse onto his spine. We've got a stance that's about shoulder width apart, very strong and stable, with the toes out slightly. We have a box as an object to be able to sit back to and to really groove the idea of sitting back through the hips and engaging a squat with the hips first. Many people make the mistake of simply tracking through the knees and having the weight track away from the heels and even having the heel lift up. This allows us to really focus on sitting back and down through the heels and hips. So he's going to break through the hips first, then drive the knees out over the pinky toes in a very strong, stable position. We can have a full deload onto the box, but we're not just collapsing or sagging. We're staying nice and stable and then exploding off the box to an upright position. You'll notice that he's keeping a position that looks like a house. We're never allowing the house to collapse in for a weak knee or foot posture. A good rule of thumb for the box is it should be just a little bit below knee height so that we're right at or just below parallel depth. Parallel meaning when the knee and hip joint are even. For most people, that's usually a 12-inch box with then a bumper plate on top.
So the third exercise in our squat progression is a high bar barbell back squat. Now, something that we really want to emphasize here is proper height of the J hooks that the bar is resting on. Now notice they are shaped like a J, and they're in line with Coach Bryce's, right about the top of his armpit is what lines up with the bar, and that's a great height. A great height. The reason that's so important is when you are re-racking the bar, that is generally the place where we most commonly see injuries in the weight room, whether it's a squat or a bench press or whatever. The easiest way for us to make sure that that never happens is if we have it set up to the right height, all Coach Bryce has to do is walk forward and then down. Now you'll see some people will sort of gauge on the way down as they go. You don't have to worry about that. If you've set it up at an appropriate height to start, just walk it straight in and then down, and you'll never miss the hooks. Okay, great. So he walks it out. He's got that same high bar position that we had before. And he's still going to initiate with the hips, but maybe not quite as pronounced because there's no box for us to sit on. So he's going to initiate with the hips and drop from there. Now, what we want to do is we want to go through the greatest range of motion that we possibly can while still remaining rigid through the torso, right? So Coach Bryce isn't relaxing at the bottom. Quite frankly, he's very tight at the bottom, particularly through the muscles of the torso, and he comes back up. That will mean that an ideal squat for me and for Coach Bryce will look substantially different, and the same will hold true for any viewers. So what you want to do is go to the deepest point where you can maintain tension, and for Bryce, that's right about here, and back up.
The first exercise in our horizontal push progression on day 2 is a dumbbell floor press. Floor pressing is a great option for people who are dealing with nagging upper body injuries, and the range of motion is very specific to the pushing that we typically see on the mats from a bottom guard position. What Coach Sterner is going to do here is place the dumbbells very high on his hips. A lot of people for horizontal pushing will set the dumbbell up on their knee, and there's simply too much space. If we keep the dumbbells right at the hips and really set the elbows and pinch them close to the body, when we then go and rock back into our pressing position, everything is right where it needs to be. We're in a perfect position to begin pressing. The elbows the shoulder blades are down and back with space between the ear and shoulder, and Coach Sterner's upper body looks like an arrowhead with the elbows approximately 45 degrees away from the torso. Anything from the elbows being very, very close to around that arrowhead position is ideal. What we never want to happen is the elbows flare far enough away to where our body looks like a T. From here, he's going to press straight up towards the ceiling, trying to think about keeping his shoulders down and back with a rigid and strong lower body position as well. Many people lose tightness or stiffness through their hips while they press, and that will turn into an energy leak that is not efficient in transferring force into the dumbbells. So Coach Turner is slightly squeezing his quads and glutes as he performs the pressing movement. Ideally, the elbows should touch at the same time, which is a lot harder than it looks. And you'll see here that he's keeping his wrist stacked directly over his elbow. The one golden rule for any horizontal pressing exercise is we need to have a perpendicular forearm to the ground or to the ceiling, and Coach Turner is doing a great job of that.
So exercise 2 for our horizontal pressing movement pattern is a dumbbell bench press. Now, a lot of people might think that this is super simple, but there's a couple key details that we really want to get into. First up, for your setup, we're going to set up just like we did for the floor press. Dumbbells nice and close to our hips. As we lean back and roll back and keep those elbows close, those dumbbells will be right in position where we want them. And just like the floor press, we're looking for about that 45-degree angle of the upper arm relative to the torso. Now, a lot of people just think it's simply a matter of pushing these dumbbells as far as you can. And there is a little bit more range of motion than there was on the floor press. But something I really want to draw attention to in this horizontal pressing motion is a packed shoulder position, right? A lot of us